Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into a very exciting live stream. Today we are going to talk about decentralized science. We're also going to address the macroeconomics behind the crypto markets, because while we are specifically focused in on the subcategory of decentralized science, it is important to understand the implications that the rest of the market has on this very small niche of a sector within the global macroeconomy. Now, decentralized science is currently up 6.3% as a function of total market cap, according to CoinGecko, to an astonishing $707 million. Think about that for a second. Take a step back. I know we deal with very large numbers. I understand that. In the grand scheme of things, $707 million is very tiny, almost no impact, a rounding error if you are someone auditing the government, right? $707 million, we don't know where that went, that's just gone because we don't actually care, we know where it went, but it's just gone. But in the grand scheme of money, $707 million is enormous, guys. That is a really large sum of money. I mean, I would like it, I'm not gonna lie, I would like that, I'll take that. That'd be nice for me, but there's been a lot of things going on in the landscape of decentralized science, and we're going to cover several of them today, including one of my favorite altcoins in the market, which most of you guys already know based off the logo and thumbnail of today's live stream, but that is none other than Poseidon DAO. They just made some crazy announcements yesterday, and I want to cover the proposal, and I want to cover everything in this live stream. But let's go ahead and do some housekeeping, because as you guys see, we have the memberships back on. So W's in the chat for C90, please, for gifting 5 That Investor memberships to the chat. Welcome to the Members Club. Social Serial Killer, Eric M, Spec Truth, DeSci Ho. I feel like DeSci Ho was already a member, but maybe it just refreshed because I lost the ability to have memberships. But welcome in, you guys. Welcome in. Thank you, C90. Good morning, Spec. Good morning, Beagle. Good morning, C90. Good morning, Morales. Good morning, MK. Good morning to every one of you gorgeous people in the chat. Again, I should say that this is not sponsored, but it should be. Some kombucha to start the day off. And this is an interesting one because it is ginger lemonade, and it is a very aggressive feeling on the tongue. But it's good. It's good for the gut microbiome. And as you guys are finding out more and more information about the microbiome, it's like a second brain down in the stomach. Really, it is that significant. So take care of it, just like you would your brain. Now let's go ahead and get into the macros of the crypto space, or the cryptoverse, as Ben Cohen would say. Currently speaking, Bitcoin's chilling at $87,754 per coin, which also is pretty insane to think about. Good morning to Reader. Pretty insane to think about how big that is. I mean, it's a 10x from when I first started paying attention to Bitcoin. And we got in my opinion, now a lot of people have this line drawn in different areas on their charts, right? This resistance line on the downtrend that we were in for the last couple weeks. In my opinion, we just had a breakout. We came down, tested it for confirmation, and are now projecting higher. We are now moving up and up and to the right, I should say. So things are looking pretty good for Bitcoin to make a push up above $92,000, in my opinion, which would be a pretty large move for Bitcoin and obviously drag up the rest of the market with it. So about a 5% move upwards in Bitcoin's price. I'm assuming that takes place this week as a lot of pressures kind of ease and people try and front run the idea that tariffs are not actually going to be that bad. Because remember, 1 week from tomorrow, tariffs get enacted from the United States, and I think a lot of people are going to try and front run that this week, as it's probably not going to be the drama fest that everyone thought it was initially going to be. So that reallocation into risk on assets, I think, is underway right now. But we are not out of the woods yet. Honestly, we are not out of the woods yet. And for the entirety of this year, I am going to be slightly on edge when it comes to price action and moves, because we are closer and closer to a global recession than we ever have been. Now, they keep kicking the can down the road, and there's a good possibility that they are able to continue to kick the can down the road. But eventually we are going to end up facing that reality of a recession, and we're going to need to be prepared for that. Does it come this year? I don't know. Does it come next year? I don't know. Does it come the year after that? Probably not, to be honest. 2027 is probably going to be fine. But We'll have to wait and see. I did, and I should have pulled it up, but I still have problems giving you guys some audio on the screen. I was listening to this morning the head of the Atlanta Fed. So if you guys are aware, Jerome Powell is kind of the head of the Federal Reserve, right? Everyone knows that. But underneath him are 13 banks in the Federal Reserve. And those 13 banks are located around the United States. One of the heads of one of those banks, the Atlanta Fed, he was talking in an interview, which I think is way more important to listen to than just Jerome talking, because Jerome is giving a press conference and he's standing there and he's reading from a script, basically. I know it's not exactly like that. And then he takes some questions and moves off. The interview that I watched with the head of the Atlanta Fed was a more personal interview, right? Something that you'd find on CNBC. And he really got to drill into him and kind of ask him a lot of questions. And he flat out said, we at the Fed have no idea what's going to happen at the economy. He literally said that. He said, we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. So we're playing it by ear, and we are taking the stance right now to not make a decision, wait for economic data to come in, and then when we see those signs, whatever those signs are that things are weakening, then we are going to act very quickly and aggressively to counteract them. Okay? So take it in with a grain of salt. He also said he doesn't think inflation will get down to the target of 2% until 2027, but we know that the PCE is at 2.5 and their goal is 2, so it's really just a 0.5% decrease over the span of 2 years, which is really just nothing. So they're basically at their metrics, in my opinion, right now. Even though it's still a little bit of move, they're basically at those metrics. And so we'll have to wait and see, as always. I know that is a not fun thing to say constantly, but ultimately, how are we going to know what's going to happen if the people in charge, who have like 2,000 financial analysts and economists, actually it might even be more than that, to be honest. Let's look it up. How many economists work for the Federal Reserve? Okay, not 2,000. All right, so they have a lot, actually. They got 500 researchers, 1,000 doctorates, 400 PhD on the board. So they have nearly 1,000 people, or around 1,000 people researching it, and they don't know. So how are we supposed to know? We just got to be reactive to the data as it comes in. And I know that you guys probably understand that to a good level. It's just a matter of really putting that in perspective, that they don't know, so we're not really going to know either. We just have to be a little bit proactive so that we can front run when we see it applicable. Right now, things look fine. They really do. This sell-off was people getting a little bit nervous, but then everything's not as bad as they expected, and so I expect us to rebound pretty quickly. I would not be surprised to see us putting in some all-time highs over the summer. I know it takes a little bit more time, but come June, I would not be surprised if we were back putting in those all-time highs. We will see. Good morning. Only 7 likes. I know. What the hell, guys? We go live Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, talk about decentralized science and the broader crypto markets. Today, we are talking about a project that I believe is a very quick 10x when this market turns around. And that project is none other than Poseidon DAO. Yes, you heard me correctly. Poseidon DAO. You guys know I'm a big fan of it. Personalized medicine. Right now, they got their very first research proposal live on their custom app. So the other day, they finally got all the audits for their app out and everything went really smoothly. There were some, I think the auditing firm said there were 5 mistakes that got corrected swiftly. And now they are ready for a governance proposal, which is live right now. So I highly encourage all of you guys to go ahead and vote for this proposal. It is to receive, I believe, $150,000 for this research. And we can go through this if you guys want to live, or my goal is this week to make a video on this proposal and post it on the channel, which I'll do either way. But if you guys want to go over this live, put a 1 in the chat. If you guys would like to just skim it over briefly and then move on to more topics, we can as well. But $115,000, my mistake. So they're looking to raise $115,000 from Poseidon DAO to do some of this research and actually progress forward some aspect of personalized medicine. So some of her active projects include, I don't really care about that. I want to see Objectives and mission. Here we go. So I'll give you guys a second. I'll take a sip of the kombucha. Are you talking about new recruits for Bill's team by any chance? I know someone who is very interesting to make a huge impact on Bill's growth. I am always open to taking on some new recruits for Bill's team. C90 says, we only have the head of Minneapolis Fed, Neil, to thank for saying the quiet parts out loud, stating that the Federal Reserve has an infinite amount of cash to ensure sufficient liquidity. Exactly, C90. See, you get it. He gets it. They have infinite cash. Nothing is really going to go terrible because they will just print more money. And that is the one thing we can rely on from the government and from the Fed, is that when things go south, they will just print. Okay, so objectives and mission. The target selection and pipeline development. The goal is to identify a series of high potential disease targets relevant to rare conditions. The approach is develop and refine target-specific compound generation pipelines aimed at maximizing both therapeutic efficiency and patient impact. Does that make sense to you guys? So they're trying to do the whole pipeline for collecting samples, diagnosing the samples, and giving therapies, right? Elon found 14 computers that print unlimited money. Oh my God. If you got links to that spec, that would be good. That's a little scary. And then number 2, bio-machine learning agent model creation. So the goal is to build and operationalize 3 custom bio-machine learning model agents, small molecule, small protein, and macromolecule binders for the initial disease targets. Long-term vision, use these foundational models as reusable platforms for future collaborative efforts and on additional disease targets. I love that. I think that's genius. I think that's honestly very, very good of them to do, and at a really good time in the creation of machine learning and AI. So effectively just creating LLMs trained on the already public and known data sources of the different protein folding models and the different RNA folding models, and actually use those in applicable areas within rare diseases. And then wet, dry, active learning best practices. So the goal is to integrate in silico an AI-driven compound design, and in vivo the cell line chemical model, experiments into a closed feedback loop, deliverable, publish a methods paper detailing workflows, validations, and lessons learned around wet, dry, active learning for medicine discovery. Does that make sense to you guys? So it's the labs. A wet, dry lab. So the in silico, which I think is kind of funny to say, instead of in vitro, which would be in like a lab setting, it's in the AI setting. And then in vivo, so in real cells, so that they can actually put this to test. And then equitable focus on rare diseases. The goal is to ensure the patients with rare conditions benefit from the same cutting-edge AI-driven approaches commonly applied to more prevalent indications, such as GLP-1 weight loss therapies. There's a lot of money in GLP-1 weight loss therapies, thus everyone is going after those. You see the commercials online a lot. I wish that this would let me just highlight one section, but so be it. Whatever. Not so much time is spent on those rare diseases, which means that there's not any competition, really, aside from cures. And then IP sharing and collaboration, which you guys I'm sure are very much aware of. But DeSci is doing it in a little bit of a unique model in which they're not going to be using the molecule form of intellectual property tokenization, and instead they are developing out their own version of the IP so that it is more open and shareable, which I think is really cool. If we go over and look at the DeSci chart, and we'll come back to Creator Bid momentarily, but if we go look at the DeSci chart, currently speaking, it's a $1.7 million market cap. And so yes, I do firmly believe that as soon as the market starts turning around and we get some more attention into DeSci, this is a very, very rapid 10x back to $5 and change. It would be putting it back close to the all-time highs. So let's just say $6 for shits and giggles. I think this is a very, very quick flip up to $6 once again, once everything starts moving. You guys know my price target on DeSci is much, much higher than $6. I erased the circle, but because we grossly missed the target. But now that they're actually starting to make moves and getting that research funding and getting some things pushed out the door, I think this changes quickly because they're going to actually get that deal flow out there. And honestly, this proposal is a very quick flip. Not a quick flip in the terms of like buy and sell, but a quick turnaround time. 2 weeks for the target selection, 4 weeks for the pipeline design, 5 weeks, or week 5, so not even, excuse me. The whole thing is looking like it's a 3-month endeavor to get into the wet and dry lab handoff. And then the wet lab phase is going to take a variable amount of time, but potentially another 12 weeks. So 6 months, which means by the time we're getting results from this trial, this proposal, by the time we're getting some real actionable results, the market is going to be in a significantly different place than it is right now. So I think the timing is working out beautifully. 6 months from now, I assume, and I think that you guys also assume, so long as the economy doesn't absolutely shit the bed, 6 months from now, which would put us in November, is going to be around the end of the bull cycle, right? Is that 6 months? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, excuse me, September. So right in the middle of the end of the bull market. So things get very bubbly and very euphoric around that time in the cycle, so long as we're going to continue that cycle. And so I really do think SCI is destined to really, really perform nicely here. Like getting this market cap up to 170 million, I think would not be off the table at all for SCI. And that's 100x, but I didn't want to get too excited right now because I know everything is down and out, and so people don't really have that conviction to do stuff in the market. But a quick 10x to 17 million is super attainable. The 100x peak price of $50 per SCI I also think is super attainable. I know the chart looks dismal, but find me a single DeSci chart that doesn't look something like this, and I won't give you anything, but I'll be happy to look at it. So I go into 20. Hell yeah. Good morning, Jonathan. GM. Jonathan over on X, our Lone Ranger over on X, consistently showing up. Shout out to Jonathan. W's in the chat for Jonathan. W. It's just me and him over on X, but that's okay. That's all right. I enjoy it. I enjoy the live streams with you guys. Now, moving on. Again, I will do a more detailed breakdown of the proposal in a video this week. I also have an interview with IOT from Poseidon DAO that I want to post this week, so stay tuned for both of those to come out. It should be really nice. The content was really good. It was at ETH Denver. I've just not spent the time needed to actually edit the content, but this week I shall, because they have some exciting things going on, so I want to get that news out to everyone. Again, for another like 5th day in a row, we're going to talk about Genomes DAO here for a second. Jonathan says, bro, I think all DeSci projects will do a 100x like Noble or AXGT. Yeah, I would agree with that. Only W for YouTube. W. I would agree with that, Jonathan. I think that the DeSci sector as a whole, you guys know where I'm headed with that. I think the DeSci sector as a whole has a quick 200x from a total function of market cap. A quick 200x to get up to where I believe it should be for this cycle. So long as the total market cap for crypto goes to 10 trillion. Crypto total market cap, it's currently sitting at $2.8 trillion. And I think that the entire market cap for crypto this cycle has a very strong likelihood of reaching up to that $10 trillion mark, give or take. And I think DeSci will represent around 2% of the total market cap, which would put it at, if we get to 10 trillion, that puts DeSci at 200 billion. So I think that it's super easy to attain stuff like that. I do indeed. That math's correct. Hey, Spec Truth, now we got 3 over here on X. Let's go. I mean, look at that. The total crypto market cap on the weekly time frame looks gorgeous. Nothing looks broken about this at all. Just like back here last year in August, we broke down to the 100-day or the 50-day moving average on the weekly, or the 50-week moving average, excuse me. We just did it again, and now we're bouncing pretty aggressively off of it. So I think that the setup looks really good. It's just a matter of turning on the money printers, and we already know that the Fed is waiting patiently to inject massive amounts of liquidity into the market if needed, and I believe that they will need it. So we'll see. We'll have to wait and see. That's like the new slogan here is let's wait and see. Hurry up and wait. But Genomes DAO. They've been disrupting the genomic market since 2018, one of the first to pick up on what we're doing here, the great people at Forbes, and they wrote it back then, now more applicable than ever. So back here, look at this. There was an article about Genomes DAO in Forbes a couple years ago talking about how they want to pay people for their DNA contributions. And now with the news of 23andMe selling off a lot of that data, I think it makes more sense than ever for genomes to get involved in a big, big way. And I know Aldo is very keen on this, right? Block that notification. I know he's very keen on this. And I think that if there is a CEO out there ready to take advantage of it, it is him. On Aldo Pape or something, I forget. I'm sorry for butchering your name. If you are in fact watching this clip, it is my mistake. But you know, everyone knows who you are, and so everyone knows who it is that I'm talking about, what it is that I'm talking about. This is a really good move on their part. They really are riding off the destruction of 23andMe, and for good reason, genuinely. Now, we're so back, baby. We are so back, baby. There's even more things going on. Now, while AminoChain has no token and no intention on ever getting a token, they are a prominent player in the DeSci landscape. They are putting the accurement of biospecimens, so the ability to get biospecimen on chain. What does that mean? Samples of blood, samples of tissue in the body, samples, biospecimen, right? Think about things in the body that are used for research. It is very difficult for traditional market makers to accrue that type of stuff, right? The biospecimen. And so they're simplifying it and streamlining that process. And they're doing a good job at it. They were at the Research Hub Roast of DeSci a couple months ago, or not even a couple months ago. It was like less than a month ago. Was it this month? Was that this month? No, it was last month. Either way, they were talking about the advancements that they've had, and it was really blowing my mind as to how involved in real academia they are, right? They're onboarding people into DeSci in a way that has no token, so that little seed of doubt that's in a lot of researchers' minds and a lot of TradSci people's minds is not prevalent with AminoChain. So they're acting as an on-ramp for thousands of people, thousands of scientists. What do you think of Pfizer as a Dynex partner? We'll talk about Dynex momentarily. We'll go over that, of course. Any partner is a bullish sign, in my opinion. It's just more and more exposure. Now, we won't spend too much time on AminoChain because at the end of the day, they don't have a token. But today at 8 p.m. CET, what is 8 p.m. CET in EST? 8 p.m. CET EST. 3 p.m. So today at 3 p.m., we are going to get the AB4AD community call. AB4AD is the pathogen hypothesis. They're going to get progress on the pathogen hypothesis. They're going to get insights from the doctor who is conducting this experiment, updates on VitaDAO and molecule teams, and a live Q&A. So this event, I think, is going to be worth attending. Let's go ahead and put my name in here and my email and then register for the event. I think this event is definitely going to be worth attending to get some information on it. As you guys know, AB4AD is one of the bioprotocol IPTs that are in the market. You guys know I'm very partial to these. I think they're going to be winners for sure. I think they're going to do really, really well. And so here we go. Looking at it, it's up a little bit from yesterday when we looked at it, but not too much, as there's not a ton of volume. Still at $370,000 market cap. So this call is probably people front running this call here in the last couple days, trying to get some exposure to it. And we'll see what the progress update is. When the market's roaring, these progress updates have a large impact on the token price, but who knows if the market's roaring too much right now. Any reason Dynex pumped recently? Is it pumping right now? I mean, it barely moved. Probably a little bit of a relief rally. I mean, like I said a couple days ago, or a couple weeks ago, back here during this little pump that they had, which little in perspective, it was a 40% move. But in this move, it was caused by them removing the entities that were attacking the chain. So they were committing fraud. They were mining Dynex without actually completing any jobs for the network, and then receiving rewards in Dynex and just dumping the price, which is why we saw such a disgusting sell-off, because this exploit was really being exploited. If this had never happened, I do think we'd probably have suffered pretty bad in the drawdown, but I think we'd be closer to 15 cents rather than 5 cents or 6 cents. But this pump, I think, is just some relief coming to the Dynex chain. You guys know they're doing an excessive amount of buybacks to the tune of double what the market cap is over the next 2 years. And you guys know that I am a whale. I have bought so much Dynex. It is a problem. It is not a problem at all. It's actually going to be one of the best decisions that I've ever made in my life when this sucker starts to move. My price target on Dynex is $100 per coin. That would be a $10 billion market cap, and that's where I think it belongs. That's where I think it belongs. We'll see. First up, we got to break this downtrend though. First up, we got to break above the moving averages. Let's go to the daily to see it a little bit better. We gotta break above and start showing signs of a reversal here before people will even start paying attention to Dynex. So let's get us up above 12 cents and then build some support and then rocket up above this 25 cents area. And I think that we will get a lot of attention really quickly for Dynex. But for the time being, of course, that's not the case. That's not the reality that we are in. Noble's been quiet for quite some time. I know. Looking at Noble's chart, we know that they're going to switch over the contract address. Again, don't do anything to receive it. Just wait patiently. We know that they're going to switch over contract addresses, and then I believe we will see some noise come from Noble as all of their products are ready. They just want to not draw attention to this token before they switch over to the new token. So after they've made that switch, I would expect to see a lot of noise from Dynex. And talking with other people in the industry, talking to other people in the industry, Noble has been taking an aggressive amount of calls with researchers to get publications ready for their platform. And so as soon as that switch over to the new token happens, I imagine we'll see a lot of publications go on the website, and then we'll get to see Nerd Bunny in action, and then we'll get to also see the Nerd Bunny token be launched. And so I think that'll be really cool. Jonathan says, I would be happy with a $5 Dynex and a 50-cent Noble. I would agree with that. I think I'd be super happy with both of those. $5 Dynex, 50-cent Noble. Love the optimism. Spec, that's why you're here, right? Always optimistic. Would you be open to checking your DMs after the live? Yes, of course, Solus. I apologize. Now, I do have a call with Phil right after the live, the CEO of Bid, Creator Bid. And then we'll talk about, or do you want to get, yeah. We'll talk about Creator Bid in a second, okay? We'll talk about Creator Bid in a second. I have a call with Phil from Creator Bid right after this live stream, and so I will not be able to check immediately, but I will dedicate a good chunk of time today to go over my DMs because I was looking at them yesterday and I have an egregious amount of people that have reached out to me that I've just left unread for the last month, or left undelivered for the last month. And so I do apologize to anyone who has reached out to me, but I had to do it. I had to do it, guys. I had to. Now, Dynex Integration Partner, FSE. We are thrilled to announce FSE, led by industry veteran Ariel Wallanow from IBM, Google, and HSBC, is now our integration partner. With expertise in AI, blockchain, and financial services, FSE will ensure enterprise-grade integration for Dynex's solutions, realize in-house development, client proof of concepts, and expand real-world adoption of quantum computing. So Dynex is really trying this year to put it out there, all of the things that they've been doing. What do I mean by that? Level up their transparency. Dynex is really attempting right now to level up their transparency so that there's less questions about what's going on behind the scenes with the business and the business model and the token and the chain. It initially was a privacy chain similar to Monero, but they obviously, that did not get received well by the market. And so they are pivoting that to try and add that layer of transparency and privacy, or remove that layer, right? So that people can actually see what's going on. Because this is such a novel and unique blockchain, I think that is super important for the market to really adopt Dynex. They say it's a perfect match for Dynex. We're already collaborating on tier 1 projects, pushing the boundaries of innovation. This is just the beginning. Dynex is positioning itself as the leader in the next mega cycle of computing, quantum. Strap in, the ride's about to get wild. So this, I think, will be really good for them because it's going to bring in new users onto the chain, right? It's going to bring in new clients to actually get to use the network. And we can go see some of the network details. You'll see the proof of useful work metrics have continued to just absolutely skyrocket. I mean, this month that's about to close in the next 6 days, they have already increased the amount of subscription jobs by 234,000, which is double what they increased last month, which is a little bit higher than the month before that. But they are on track to continuously increase by a CAGR of like 80% a month on those jobs. And I think that's super important. And then we get to see the buyback wallet. So right here, they're showing you how much Dynex they've added every month. And so far, in the month of March, they've scooped up 325,000 Dynex. So I imagine that has got something to do with why the price is starting to go up a little bit, is because these buybacks are fundamentally boosting the price. They're removing supply from the open market. So again, I would pay close attention to this because this is going to start going parabolic. It's something they just started out in November, and then they're increasing it like crazy. And they just hired that new person to pay attention to and keep track of the buyback wallet so they can make sure that they're actually doing it on a standardized scale. One thing that a community member pointed out, okay, and I'm going to point this out to you guys as well, someone in the Discord, and I forget who it was, so I'm sorry, but I guess I could look actually and give him credit. Props where props are due, guys. Props where props are due. Let's go back in the Discord. We got, his name is K ... Okay, oh well. K ... in the Discord pointed out how if you come look at this, right, in March, you go look at, it's kind of hard to highlight it right here, but if you look at the metrics there, the spent on subscriptions jobs, okay, it is the third line item down on that pop-up there, 154,508 Dynex spent on subscription jobs. So while the number of subscription job counts is going up, the amount of Dynex spent on those jobs was not going up, okay? It stayed the same. And it stayed the same all the way back into November or October of last year. It has not increased since then. Now, this is frightening at first because you guys know it's a subscription basis, so you pay a flat fee every month in Dynex, or cash, I believe, but you pay a flat fee, and then you get to use the network as much as that tier of payment allows, right? So the companies that are using Dynex were using it more and more and more and more, but we're not getting new partners, or at least new subscription jobs. That was corrected by the Dynex team, and we were pointed to the proof of useful work gas and transaction fees, because when they reworked the model, the economic model back in November, they pivoted away from just charging more and more for those subscriptions to putting that metric into this right here, the gas fees, because this is a way for them to actually try and tie that subscription job count or the payments to on-chain transactions to hopefully boost the price of the Dynex token, right? Obviously, so far it's done nothing to do that, but right here you'll see that this is where all of those increases have gone. And as of March, they added 85,000 Dynex to the gas fees and an additional 234 Dynex to the transaction fees. And in February, they added 26,000 Dynex, and in January, 13, and in December, 6,000. So you'll actually see they've doubled it every month, and then this month, they've done more, they've tripled it, right? So it is increasing dramatically. You just have to look down here at this metric. So all accounts are showing that the number of jobs and the money that they're making off these jobs is increasing exponentially. And like these growth rates month over month would be really good a year over year for a company. But what we're seeing is that it's all compressed into a month over month basis. So these growth rates, I would be crazy bullish on them if they were happening on a quarter by quarter or a year by year basis. Something growing 80% yearly is insanity. They're doing it monthly. So I just want to keep that in the back of everyone's mind. You can see though the hash rate is going down, and that had to do with the attack, right? The attack that was happening. When they got rid of everyone, this hopefully is going to get a little bit of a reversal in the next couple months where the network gets harder and harder to mine rather than easier. But this also, I'm sure, is tied to the token price going down, and the GPU count down to 10,000 is definitely painful to see, but is not the end of the world. I think it's around the same as what Render has for GPUs, and this is quantum computing. And I know, and I talked to them and asked the Dynex team specifically, because you guys know, right above the head, I'm a big fan of Dynex. I spoke with the team specifically asking what their plan was, or if they had a fail-safe measure as to, in case these GPUs deserted the network, right? What would happen if these people left? And they do have a fail-safety plan so that the network itself wouldn't crumble. It would not go away. It would not cease to exist. They have a safety measure in place just in case people really do desert it. Now, I don't think people will desert it, especially not if the token starts going up more and more and more. So that's my 2 cents on Dynex right now. It is, by all accounts, getting better every single month, but of course the price is not yet. The puzzle is coming together piece by piece. Yes, it is. Very quickly. You got like this alone, I think, would be enough for me to invest in them, and this is just one small implication of what Dynex is capable of. And you guys know that Bill, our DeSci guy here, is going to be using or be used as the guinea pig for the Dynex quantum enhanced large language model. So one of the world's first ever quantum large language models, or quantum AI, we get to put into Bill and kind of push the boundaries on it and see what he's capable of doing, what the network's capable of doing. Right now, Dynex is benchmarking their QLLM against a series of industry standards out there. So I'm talking Llama, I'm talking Grok, I'm talking OpenAI, I'm talking, what's the other one from? All of them. All the main, DeepSeek, the other one that's out there, which I can't remember, but all those main large-scale LLMs and AIs that are out there, Dynex is currently benchmarking against them. They will then publish the results in an academic paper that we will review, of course, because I'm curious how well it does. And then we will get to move forward with testing with Bill. So things are heating up quickly, guys. Things are heating up very quickly. And that gets back into why I had to take that time to be away from making content to really bolster my understanding of what it is that is happening here. Because while I understood enough to like talk about it, I felt that I understood enough to talk about it. When I took a step back and really tried to dig into my understanding of what the hell an LLM is and how does it actually understand things and is it thinking and what it does, I realized that I needed to be smarter. I needed more information. And so that's what I was doing. And now I feel that I have enough information to be able to make a big impact. And obviously we'll never stop learning, right? You guys know I love the Dunning-Kruger effect. Can I get some ones in the chat from everyone if they know what the Dunning-Kruger effect is? You guys know I'm a big fan of it. I think it's super interesting. I was definitely on the left side of it. I was definitely on the left side of it when it came to AI. And now I feel like I'm in the trench. Which is good. That's the hardest part to get over, is getting over that initial peak. Okay, we got a 0 from Snijboon. Interesting name. Let's look it up then. Dunning-Kruger effect. W Dr. Crypto. Okay, so here's the Dunning-Kruger effect. It essentially states, can I zoom in on this photo? No, I cannot. Essentially, it's a graph of expertise on a given subject matter, okay? And so it's your graph of expertise compared to your actual confidence behind that subject. So when you first learn about a topic, your knowledge is not that high, your competence is fairly low, but your confidence is incredibly high on that subject, right? So when you first learn about something, you don't really know much about it, and because of that ignorance, you feel that you're really good in that subject matter. And then as you start to learn more, you realize you actually know nothing about that subject, and your confidence will fall into the valley of despair. And so while I first got into all the AI stuff, I feel like I was close to the peak of Mount Stupid. And then rather than just like fall off a cliff on the edge of it and into the valley of despair, I feel like I got on my hang glider and kind of like jumped and soared down to somewhere between the valley of despair and the slope of enlightenment, which is a really good place to be in. I really get excited by that amount of knowledge that I can increase, right? That is really exciting for me. Driving. It's all good, C90. You're always driving during this live stream. You are on a very regimented schedule, and I respect it. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. And having this graph in your head and this Dunning-Kruger effect, knowing about this, I think you can take a step back on a lot of the topics that you're involved in and assess yourself and see where you're at with all of them. A lot of the loudest people scream from the peak of Mount Stupid. Somebody clip that. And I think it's super important that they get off of Mount Stupid and really join the masses on the slope of enlightenment. But hopefully that all makes sense to you guys. It's something that I really am a big fan of because it helps keep me grounded, you know? Helps keep me grounded. Now, we got one more thing? Yeah, one more thing to talk about. Biohacker DAO talking about the effects of nootropics, but more than that. They said, you're an idiot if you're not taking your brain health seriously. You don't want faster thinking, sharper memory, and laser focus, then don't master these three. Using a little bit of reverse psychology there. I think that they shitpost a little bit too much though, so it's not really getting the crazy engagement, but I think it's super valuable information here. So number one, nutrition. Your brain is 60% fat, omega-3, DHA. It's the most vital fuel for cognitive thinking, right? Your muscles will use sugar, but your brain uses fat, right? So number one, salmon, highest source of DHA. Number two is eggs. Number three is walnuts. Number four is avocados. So there's a little map of where you can get a lot of this brain food from. I think it's super important. I eat berries every day. I eat eggs every day. I eat strawberries every day. I eat spinach almost every day. I have coffee every day. I have chocolate every day. I don't eat beans every day because I don't like the bloating that I feel. I'm not convinced on beans. I think beans are not necessary in the diet. That's my personal take on it. Hot take, I understand. A lot of people think beans are super important for the gut. I think anything that makes you bloated and toot is not super good for your gut. Flax seeds, I have that basically every day. Do not have walnuts every day. Do not eat broccoli every day. Do not have carrots every day. I don't eat salmon or any kind of fish after watching Seaspiracy. I love avocados, but they aren't in season right now. Raspberries, no. Bell peppers, no. But your diet is the most fundamentally important part of everything that you do. If your diet's not good, you are not good, and you can't expect to perform highly if your diet is not good. My degree is in nutrition, so I'm not just talking off of nonsense. I really do mean that. What's good, Tio? Welcome into today's live stream. As you guys come in, please do hit that thumbs up button, hit the likes. It makes me feel happy, and it helps the algorithm know that people actually enjoy the content. Yeah. Okay, next thing. Number two, recovery and hydration, the backbone of your mind. So if you're not sleeping, if you're not drinking water, you're literally going to die. Number one, there's nothing else, there's no way around it. If you don't get adequate sleep, you will start to hallucinate and inevitably die prematurely. There is no stronger correlation between sleeping, recovery, and premature death out there. There is nothing better than that. I appreciate the nutrition talk. Hell yeah, C90. I love it. Let's go, Wild Africa. Let's go. Beans have that protein. They do. Beans paired with rice are two complementary protein sources that allow for you to get a full panel of amino acids. So if you're eating beans alone, you're going to get incomplete protein sources, which won't be enough to build out the muscle in your body. But if you pair it with rice, you will get the full panel, which is pretty interesting because if you think about food sources from a lot of ancient human tribes and just cultures in general, a lot of them pair beans with rice before we even knew about the research behind it. So I think that's interesting. Take a step back to the roots. We talk about AI with Phil after, or business things. Probably both. And I'll go on this rant for about 5 more minutes, and then let's talk about what you guys think I should talk about with Phil. So while I'm talking about this, while I'm ranting, I want you guys to think about Creator Bid. I want you guys to think about Bill. I want you to think about what it is I should address with Phil from Creator Bid. It would be really exciting for me to get some insight on what the community thinks, not just myself. Too Much at Once says Patrick.NutritionistMD. Fun fact, if you give advice on nutrition to anyone, you are by definition a nutritionist. You do not need a degree to be a nutritionist. I got my degree and I am a nutritionist, but you don't need one. By definition, it is just a phony thing that people made up, but it is still kind of cool out there. So deep sleep detoxifies the brain and strengthens memory. So that makes me think about how, like, if you're learning something, it might benefit you to take little naps and stuff while learning. It strengthens the memory. Interesting. Keep your room at 65 degrees Fahrenheit for optimal rest. I did not know that. That's kind of cool. I did know that colder temperatures make you sleep better. I'm 50% of the way to my goal this year on weight loss. Let's go, C90. That's huge. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. W in the chat for that. W. Even 2% dehydration causes brain fog. If you are thirsty, you're dehydrated. I'll repeat that one 2 more times because you have to repeat things 3 times to get it stuck in people's heads. If you feel the symptom of thirst, if you feel the biological impulse to drink water, it's too late. You are already thirsty. You are already dehydrated. You need to drink before you feel thirsty. Start your day with water and electrolytes every single day. First thing I do, fill this thing up, chug the whole thing, 24 ounces. It used to be my beer mug, but since moving on from alcohol, which was one of the best decisions that I made, this is now just my water mug, and I drink a full one of those every single morning. Get the brain roaring. Then I go stare at the sun. Track and optimize water intake. Yeah, I'm not a nerd. I'm not going to track my water intake. I'm just going to make sure I do it. And number 3, nootropics, brain enhancers. You guys know I love these. Natural nootropics, lion's mane, which is a mushroom, stimulates brain cell growth. Mushrooms are one of the only things known to man that stimulate brain cell growth. Previously, we did not think it was possible. Alpha GPC, boosts memory and focus. Never heard of that one before. I'm going to bookmark this post and save it and go look at it. And then synthetic nootropics, modafinil, supercharges focus. I used to use it a lot, but it gave me headaches, and I ran out of the subscription. You can get it over the counter from Europe, but you can't get it in the United States. So you have to go buy it from the distributor and then have it shipped to you in the mail, and that's a little sketchy. And then phenylpiracetam. Phenylpiracetam increases mental energy. Obviously, not heard of that one either. Modafinil, placebo, piracetam. So you can see very clearly more things lighting up in the brain, which apparently must mean that you're smarter. So, keys to being healthy, guys. These are the foundational things. You want to eat good, you want to exercise, you want to drink water and sleep. Once those 4 things are down pat, then you start working on the nootropics. You don't just jump right into cognitive enhancers before you get that foundation established. Okay, we got 5 minutes left to the live stream. So let's go ahead and talk about Creator Bid and Bill. As you guys see, well, actually, before we segue over, because I know there's a little bit of delay in topics that we talk about here and them reaching you. So let's go ahead and talk about nutrition and everything, because I really love this subject. and I want to know what you guys think. I still identify as huge, LOL. Nah, come on. Can you give your stats, C90? Give your stats. I'll give my stats. 230 LBS. 6 foot. Here's the thing. Okay, guys. Here's the thing. 6'3". Here's the thing. Actually, I'm only 6'2.5", but I round it to 6'3" because it makes me feel better. Still pretty cool. But if I'm ever next to a 6'3" person, I will be noticeably smaller than them, and so it is I'm a little bit insecure about it. 230 pounds. I am very close to obesity. I've been trying to scale back and actually trying to introduce fasting into my day-to-day. I usually only have a snack in the morning, which is a smoothie of just like berries and some honey and some yogurt, and then one meal at the end of the day. But I'm starting to think once a month I might go just a day without eating to try and cleanse my body of the cancers. I would love to be under 200, but obviously I have a big ways to go and I haven't made progress on that goal. It's been just like a pseudo goal, if you will. Half inch is huge, Spec Truth. Huh? Half an inch is huge. I still need to gain 25 pounds, but can't work out fully for another month. Because of your shoulder? Yeah, that's tough, dude. Have you been still doing those exercises? The ones on the wall? After a certain point, you want to start hanging too. That's really going to help align the shoulder back into the socket the best it can. It's really going to help align it the best. 6'2 3/4. All right, C90. Okay. All right. 265. That's, damn boy, you linebacker? Let's go. 6'2", 155. Always have had issues gaining weight, about 4,000 calories a day. That's nuts, MK. That is a metabolism that is firing on all cylinders. When I was in my bodybuilding days, back in the year of 2017, the year before Harambe was brutally murdered and life changed forever, I would start my diets out when I would get ready for a competition, like, because I would bulk and I wouldn't care about my intake at all. I would just eat until I was full 5 times a day, literally 5 meals a day, protein based entirely. I would not recommend that, but I would start my cuts on 4,500 calories a day. And I would, for the first 2 weeks of that, I would lose like 5 to 10 pounds as I would stop the bloating, right? And I'd get a much cleaner diet, so I'd lose a lot of water weight. And then from there, every week that I didn't see weight loss, I would cut it by 300 calories and just boom, 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 boom. I played tackle at 330. That's crazy, C90. That is crazy. CZ made a statement about how not every AI agent should have tokens, and CreatorBid replied to it in agreement. What will happen to Bill? It's a good question, too much at once. Honestly, most AI agents should not have tokens. Now, my thought process behind this is that Bill is a creator AI agent. And so just like creators like I right now am creating content, I have that YouTube membership that C90 likes to gift, which, respect, I appreciate it immensely. Those memberships that C90 likes to gift are just like tokens of gratitude / access tokens, if you will, into private communities like Patreon. And so for Bill, the model here is holding and locking up his token gains access into his private community group where decisions can be made. And so it's not necessarily that the token is really doing anything for the AI agent itself, but rather out here allowing for that community building side of things, right? So really cool. I love that everyone's spilling their stats in the chat here. Everyone is tall here. I know, what the hell is this? How is every single one of you guys tall? Dr. Crypto, damn boy. 9% fat just to mug you? I know, I am not 9. I'd say I'm probably closer to like 17 right now, maybe even 18. So gotta drop some of that weight. Does that make sense? If I were to drop 30 pounds, it'd be about 15% of my, I might be even higher. I might be like 24. I might be a quarter fat. That's crazy. Just doing some simple math. 6 foot, I am tall, that's it, let's go. 6'1", 176. Damn, guys, we got a whole basketball team here. Too bad I'm not coordinated like this. Just asked for our ASL and we gave it to him. You're damn right. That's trust. That's community building. Hella underweight though, 121 pounds at 6 foot. Yeah, I mean, I would stack on a good 20 pounds to that, get you up to some size. Now way you was doing body, show your prime physique. I'll show, yeah, let's do that. Instead of talking, really quick, instead of talking about what we want to talk about with creator bid, because I have a bunch of stuff. Oh, come on, I can't. I'll share it later then, because I can't log into Instagram right now. But I'll go find my old Instagram account where I was trying to be a bodybuilder influencer, and we can go look at some of the photos from peak physique. I was young. I was like 18. Yeah. All right, guys. I know we are going to need a bigger boat. Drop the Dawn stats. 6'2", 200 pounds, baby. And he hits the gym 24/7, day in and day out. Andrew Tate style, working out just to work out, not working out for any other reason to say that he did it. All right, guys, I have to go to that call. Your time's your most valuable asset. Hopefully this was worth investing it into. I appreciate the chats here, talking about the stats. I loved it. Let's try and get Bill. The goal here for Bill is to get him to 1 million bid. I want to get him to 1 million bid endorsed so we don't have to worry about getting dropped out of the rankings here. I want to get him to 1 million bid. And I think it's super doable. I do indeed. All right, guys. Peace out.